Grass types have been written so as one of the worst types in Pokemon history. Not to mention, in Pokemon Black, there are way too many obstacles ranging from rival battles, gym leaders, and of course, the champion. But in Gen 6, we have a plethora of Pokemon to choose from, but we can't access but one until we get past Lenora. So let's do it. Let's see if I can beat a Pokemon Black Hardcore Nuzlocke just using grass types. Ah yes, New Vema Town. So good to see this town after 35 attempts of this run. Now as y'all know, we only get one Pokemon until we get past Lenora, so we are basically asking for a ton of luck from the RNG. This is obviously not a concept when we are battling Bianca's team because she ends up getting the water starter in Oshawott, so a few Vine Whips later, Snivy will take us to the real battle, Charon. Now Charon does pose a threat with Tepig mainly because it does know Ember, and Ember has the potential chance to burn Snivy. This is bad because my attack will be halved for the rest of the fight, but let's see how we fare. We end up getting off a Leer as Tepig just goes for a Tail Whip. Let's go. I do need 2 minus defense drops, so I get off another one as Tepig hits us with an Ember, but no burn. We then hit a tackle that cannons Tepig to a quarter, but its Oranberry does get it back above half. Ember does land, and thank God no burn, so we can take it out with one more tackle. His last Pokemon is Purloin that could assist an Ember, but that doesn't happen, so 2 more Vine Whips gives us the dub. Now as we are grinding for the gym leader, Snivy ends up learning the move Growth, and I think y'all know where this is going. You see, sometimes, not all the time, but in some cases the AI will try to match your stat boost if you are climbing in a specific stat. But that is definitely the case with this battle because we are able to get the +5 attack with Growth unharmed. This means that since Snivy is faster, we can take out the Lillipup with a +5 Vine Whip. This will now send out Chili's real threat, Pansear. It goes for a workup as we slam it with a tackle to a quarter. Pansear then uses an Incinerate, but not even a +1 crit Incinerate could take us out, so one more tackle earns us our first gym badge of the run. Bro, how did Game Freak let this slide? Why is this man giving this poor Muna a sad and a poom in broad daylight? I am not going to stand around and let Muna's innocence dissipate at the hands of Team Plasma. So I leaf tornado my way through the grunts, and since we saved Muna from that awful scene, she says it's okay to evolve Snivy into Servine. Now we do have the battle with Charon here, but since we have a Servine, we can Growth twice and then KO the Tepig and Purloin with a series of tackles and Leaf Tornado. We then make it to Nacrene City where we can pick up some pretty good items like the Chesto Berries and the Miracle Seed. Oh, it's an ordinary old stone. My brother, you literally have a god on display right now. We have finally made it to Lenora, my greatest rival through this entire run. I mean, she has single-handedly taken us out numerous times through this run, and I am banking on one stride only here if I'm going to see my beloved Servine get us through. She starts the battle with Herdier with Intimidate, so I Leech Seed off the rip as Herdier goes for a Leer. I then pop off my first Growth as Herdier also hits us with another Leer. I really just gotta bank on my plus defense nature that helps us survive the takedown on 42 HP thanks to our Leech Seed and Oranberry. So after all that setup, one more Leaf Tornado can end that thing for good. This next sends out Watchog that tanks the incoming Leaf Tornado in the red and then somehow puts me to sleep with a Hypnosis. This is really bad. Lenora then uses a Super Potion that brings Watchog back to full as we stay asleep. I just watch as Watchog lands a double powered Retaliate, but we survive on 16 HP. Now I cannot begin to explain this serotonin boost I got when Servine wakes up and hits a +2 Overgrow boosted Leaf Tornado crit for a well-deserved gym badge. Fellas, I don't know how we just made it through that, but we did it. Let's get it. This means that we can finally catch some new encounters. The first one we catch is a Shauntal, one of my favorite Pokemon ever, and the next is a Cottony. Now, we did catch Cottony in the Pinwheel Forest, but we are not going to use it as an encounter. Instead, we are going to go back to Nacrene City where we can trade it to this last trainer for a Petalil. Let's go. This will definitely give us more firepower going into the battles with Team Plasma, and we can get the Dragonite skull back. This poor Dragonite has been through so much. But Dragonite didn't die for none, because his spirit inspired Shauntal to evolve into Swadloon. Not only that, I guess my friendship is high enough, so he also evolves into Elite Vanny. Yeah, he's a seasoned trainer. He made me work for that badge. But bug types aren't much of a challenge. Listen here, you ungrateful little You have a powerhouse of a team. Of course you made it. Bro, come back. Where are you going? Now, my team in this case scenario is 2 times weak to Berg. But I think with the help of the Eviolite and Leavanny's sheer bulk, I can somehow make this plan work. Berg starts the battle with Whirlipede as I lead with Lily. I start the battle by putting Whirlipede to sleep with Sleep Powder and then setting up the Leech Seed on the next turn. Whirlipede of course wakes up, knocking us to half with a Poison Tail, but Leech Seed gets us back to above half, so I just repeat the process of putting it back to sleep. I then switch into Servine on its sleeping turn, and Servine is able to get off 1 growth as Whirlipede wakes up using a Poison Tail, but it's not doing much thanks to our plus defense nature and Eviolite. At this point, we are able to just get to +2 attack because Whirlipede's next Poison Tail actually gets the poison, so now we are on a clock. But fortunately, we outspeed, so 1 tackle is enough to take that thing out. Berg's next mon is a Dwebble that was easily handled with a +2 Leaf Tornado to the face. All that's left now is Berg's ace, Leavanny. I obviously can't stay in with Servine, and my best case scenario is to risk it with Lileep to get off a Sleep Powder, so let's see how we fare. We send out Lileep, and it gets out on a free switch because Leavanny used Protect. It protects again, but that doesn't matter because Lileep is the GOAT, tanking a struggle on 22 HP and then putting it to sleep with Sleep Powder. This will then pave the way for our cooler, more awesomer Leavanny to take it out with 2 consecutive bug bites. That battle was a little hairy in the end, but it got us our 3rd gym badge of the run. Now we do have the battle with Bianca, but her team is really easy to set up on, so I do the same strat by setting up Leech Seed and Sleep Powder and then KOing her whole team with a flurry of Leaf Tornadoes. The battle I was actually worried about was the battle versus Charon. Now, Charon has 2 bruisers on his team, Pidove and Pignite, and the only thing I can really set up on is Pidove with high critical hit, Air Cutter. We do get off the Sleep Powder Leech Seed combo on it, so I switch into Servine as it wakes up, but it just uses Roost. I then just switch back into Lileep to put it back to sleep, but that didn't work at all. At this point, I need to start spamming growth, so I do that and end up getting the +4 attack and special attack, and even better than that, I'm still above half. This means that we can take out Pidove with just 1 tackle, and this sends in his Pignite. I don't know if we're gonna survive 1 flame charge, but I guess we'll never know because Servine takes it out with a crit tackle. This just leaves his last 2 mons that succumb to the wrath of the mighty Servine. We can now make it to Nimbasa City, and after beating up the Plasma Grunts, this beautiful bald man will give us our beloved bicycle. That is not the only thing that is helpful because if you go to the house directly behind the Pokemon Center, this Ace Trainer will give you a gift Sunstone. This will finally give us access to one of the best mons ever, a Lilligant. Now, right now, my team is a little Dunsparce. Oh, brother. But if we head into the desert resort, we can pick up our new addition, a Maractus. This means that we can traverse through the Lost Lorn Forest to find 1 of 2 encounters in this area. In the Shaking Grass, we have a 10% chance of catching a Pansage or a 5% chance of catching a Whimsicott. And I kid you not, when entering the Shaking Grass after 30 minutes of searching, we find ourselves a damn Whimsicott. Let's go. We then have to take a Ferris wheel within, and he tells us that he is the leader of Team Plasma. Like, bro, can you back up like 6 inches away from me, man? Your breath is hot. He obviously didn't like the way that we said that because he challenged us to battle. But fortunately, now that our team finally has more coverage, we can sweep his entire team very swiftly. Now, originally, I thought Elisa was going to give us a run for our money, mainly because Electric Resist Grass, she has 2 flying types in Amalga, and Zebstrika knows Flame Charge. But then I realized we have a Lilligant. You see, Lilligant can just set up with Sleep Powder and Leech Seed while we also set up our stats with Growth. Amalga wants to wake up? That's cool. Sorry, buddy, you're going back to sleep with Sleep Powder. All in all, we get to +5 with Growth as we knock out the first Amalga with a Mega Drain. Elisa then sends in her next Amalga that actually does survive a Mega Drain on like 1 HP, and then it hits us with a Pursuit. That Amalga must have been a chill god because 2 more Mega Drains KO that thing as well. Her last Pokemon is Zebstrika that desperately tries to do damage with a Flame Charge, but it wasn't enough, so 1 more Mega Drain earns us our 4th gym badge. Now, just like Elisa, Charon really wasn't a big deal either, mainly because we used the same strat with Quiver Dance and to sweep his whole team with just Lilligant. Now watch this! What the heliante we got going on here? Now, all of y'all that thought that Clay was going to be the easiest gem of the run were completely right. He starts with Krokorok as eyelid with Maractus, and after getting swaggered, Maractus bossed up and broke through the confusion and KO'd with Giga Drain. Up next is Excadrill, so I switch into Servine with the Eviolite to tank the incoming slash. Excadrill then goes for a Rock Slide and flinches, but on the next turn he just uses Hone Claw so we can get off a Leech Seed. Excadrill is still using Hone Claw, so we can critical hit Leaf Tornado that thing that leaves him at a quarter thanks to the Leech Seed recovery. While Clay is hyper potioning, y'all know I'm about to use a growth, so I can confirm the KO with 2 consecutive Leaf Tornadoes. This just leaves his Palpitoad that's about to Palpacroak to the sound of a 4x super effective Giga Drain to earn us our 5th gym badge of the run. Now on Route 6 we can catch either a Shroomish or a Deerling, and thank God they gave us our Shroomy baby, let's get it. After we watch Clay's Krokorok make love to the spiderweb, this will grant us access to the Chargestone Cave. This cave will grant us access to one of the best encounters of this run, a Pharaoh Seed. Now, as y'all know, Skyla's team is all flying types, and her team is completely stacked with a Swoobat, Unfezant, and a Swanna. Like, damn! Before we get into any of that, we got some prep we need to do. The first of the matter is to head over to Route 7, where we can catch ourselves a Deerling and then straight up evolve that thing into a Sawsbug. Next up is to talk to this fine gentleman that will give us an amazing item in the Rocky Helmet. The Rocky Helmet plus Pharaoh Seed's ability Iron Barbs will help us deal amazing damage if Pharaoh Seed is struck with a contact physical move. Chat, we got this. My grass types will persevere. Wait. Alright, let's get it. The time is now. Skyla starts with Swoobat as I lead with Pharaoh Seed. Swoobat on the first 2 turns just uses Amnesia, which I definitely don't mind that, so I can set up 2 iron defenses to get to +4 physical defense. This is perfect because when Swoobat hits its acrobatics, we actually do more with Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs than it does with acrobatics. Now that curse that we just set up was crucial because when Swoobat hits its acrobatics, we can bring it into range and KO with a Gyro Ball. See ya later, Stinky. Her next mon is Unfezant that does hit us with an Air Slash, but it does very pitiful damage, so we can bring it to a quarter with a Gyro Ball. Skyla does Hyper Potion, but that doesn't matter since Storm is on a rampage and just crits the Unfezant with another Gyro Ball. Well, this just leaves Swanna, and it ends up going for an Aqua Ring as we bring it to above half with a Gyro Ball. Well dang, I'm on my last Gyro Ball PP, so we lock it in and Swanna hits its Air Slash to bring us to 16 HP as we bring it to the red with Gyro Ball. Knowing that Skyla is going to Hyper Potion, I switch into Lilligant for the one time. I go for a Sleep Powder that does its job so I can set up 3 Quiver Dances before Swanna wakes up. Swanna then wakes up and hits a mean critical hit Aerial Ace to bring Lilligant to 3 HP. As I'm saying my goodbyes to the literal backbone of the team, Lilligant hits a mean critical hit to 1-hit KO Swanna off the map ski. This means that we take home the dub, and yes lord, it was deathless. My battle with Charon right after went something like this, setting up a quick Sleep Powder and then getting to +3 with Quiver Dance, and I think y'all know the rest. This means that we can go through the Twisted Mountains to make it to Icarus City. Overall, the trainers really weren't that bad because apparently if you have a Steel type on your team, you're kind of dominating Ice types. Let's just hope Bryson keeps that same energy. He starts the battle with Vanillish as I lead with Storm. Vanillish outspeeds using a Frost Breath that gets a crit, but we are able to set up a single curse. Now, the thing about setting up curse is it does lower our speed and boost our attack stat. Because Gyro Ball is a move that amps in power the slower the user, Vanillish was just staring into the eyes of fate. Bryson's next mon is a Bear Take, and it tries to confuse us with a Swagger, but Storm doesn't give a flying and 1-hit KOs him with a Gyro Ball. His last Pokemon is a Cryogonal that hits us to half with an Aurora Beam, but my girl Storm breaks out of confusion, hitting the Cryogonal with one final Gyro Ball to end the battle. I was really stressing about this battle, but I know how happy it makes Storm to dominate the competition. So happy, in fact, that Storm right after the battle decides to evolve into a beastly Ferrothorn. After the gym, we have a lot of Team Plasma stuff to cover, but all their mons are pretty manageable up until this point, so that will pivot us into our final battle with Bianca. She starts the battle by sending out Stoutland as I lead with the weakest Avenger. Sawsbuck's only job here is to at least get Stoutland down to -5 attack with Charm. Now Stoutland does have workup, but that only boosts your attack stat by 1 stage versus Charm's 2-stage reduction. My plan does see great success, so I pivot into Lilligant, but that was short-lived because Stoutland used Roar, bringing out Superior. This definitely would have been bad if Stoutland didn't let us set up 3 coils in a row and then KO him with a single Leaf Blade. Now honestly, I would have been more concerned about Semi-Sage if the rain wasn't up. So after we knock into a quarter with the tackle, it hits us with a Flame Burst, but for not much, so 1 more tackle takes him out. And after that, her Samurott and Musharna didn't stand a chance versus 3 consecutive Leaf Blades for the dub. Hero, Dragon, Legend? Now that is my hero. Drayden, oh Drayden, I thought was going to be my most formidable foe yet, and for whatever reason, I was completely wrong. You see, fellas, all we gotta do is send out Storm, curse twice, and Gyro Ball our way through the gym. Seriously, it was that easy. Out of all the gyms, the Dragon type gym was easier than the normal type gym. Can we make that make sense? Whatever, Drayden, put the fries in the bag, homie. After slamming those fries, we have one final battle with Charon. And this dude now has a fully evolved Unpheasant and Embor. I really did go over this battle in my head over and over, but I didn't expect it to go like this. Now, the reason I sent out Lilligant wasn't because I expected it to tank a super effective air slash. It's really because I need to put this Unpheasant to sleep, so I at least have a fighting chance. Lilligant does outspeed on the next turn and is able to get off the sleep powder, so we can get off 3 quiver dances before Unpheasant wakes up. This is insanely clutch because our special defense has been raised, but if this bird gets a crit, and very highly it's going to happen since it has super luck, then the run is doomed. Fortunately for us though, we have Mega Drain that does some good damage, but more importantly, we get recovery back. Unpheasant is slowly seeing its early demise, trying to stall with Detect, but one more Mega Drain actually KOs that thing. Now Embor is up next, and just like Unpheasant, we need to put him to sleep, so I use a sleep powder and dear god it connects. I use a Mega Drain, and seeing the damage that we just dealt, we are going to need some extra damage. I go ahead and use a Leech Seed on the next turn, and then Embor wakes up, but just uses Assurance. Why would he use that when he has Flamethrower, bro? I don't know, man, but that just let us put him back to sleep with Sleep Powder, and I kid you not, we stalled him out with a Mega Drain and Leech Seed combo for the KO. I'm gonna be completely honest here, I really thought Lilligant was going to be a sack, but she proved to be our Bird Fire Slayer. After this, Lilligant KOs the Liepard with a Mega Drain, levels up, learns Petal Dance, and then annihilates the Semi-Sage for the final rival fight this run. This means that we can take our final steps through Victory Road to make it to the Pokemon League. And after thinking, and more thinking, this will be the team I take on the rest of the challenge with. We have Superior with Return, Coil, Leech Seed, and Leaf Blade. Widow the Leavanny with Sword Stance, Protect, X-Scissor, and Leaf Blade. Storm the Ferrothorn with Curse, Bulldoze, Power Whip, and Gyro Ball. America Captain, the Sawsbuck, you dirty dog, with Charm, Feint Attack, Horn Leech, and Jump Kick. Lilil, the Lilligant, with Quiver Dance, Leech Seed, Sleep Powder, and Petal Dance. And last but not least, we have Iron Wife, with Leech Seed, Hurricane, Light Screen, and Shadow Ball. Just taking a moment to look how far we have came after 1 month of grinding. Now, first up on the totem pole, we have Grimsley, and he starts the battle with Scrafty as we lead with Cotton. Instead of doing the smart thing like go for a Leech Seed, I go for a Hurricane that misses and then gets slammed to half by a Poison Jab. However, the next Hurricane does hit, bringing Scrafty to a quarter, and fortunately we survive the next Poison Jab. I then just switch into Storm that does have Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs, and when Scrafty hits its Brick Break, he survives on like 1 HP. This is kind of bad in a way, but I am able to get off a curse. The reason it's kind of a predicament is because when Scrafty gets full restored, we still can't KO with a single Gyro Ball. I am not willing to risk my best mon to a crit, so I switch into Levanny that tanks a sand attack on the switch. We do outspeed, so Scrafty is down for the count after getting hit with an X-Scissor. Up next is Lipard, and I use a Protect to scout what it's going to do, and then I go for an X-Scissor and miss because of sand attack and nearly get KO'd by an Aerial Ace. I switch into Storm that resists this thing's literal whole moveset, so after stalling with Curse and Rocky Helmet, we can KO with a Gyro Ball. Up next is Grimsley's Crocodile, and not wanting to get slammed by an Earthquake, I switch into Superior that tanks the Earthquake perfectly thanks to maxing out our defense EVs and plus defense nature. Leaf Blade does bring him to the red as he brings us to half with another foul play. Since Grimsley full restores here, we can get off a coil to boost our attack and defense, so in the end, we can confirm the KO with one more Leaf Blade. His last mon is a Bisharp, so I use a Leaf Blade that practically does nothing as it goes for an X-Scissor, but we survive thanks to our prior coil. Like in every single movie, when you need him most, Mr. America is there to bring the pain. By taking an X-Scissor off the rip and then using America's ass. Oh yes, baby, this one. So we can kick that abomination off the map for our first Elite Four dub. The next Elite Four member I take on is Marshall, and he starts the battle with Throw as I lead with Lilligan. I immediately set up Elite Seed as we get hit with a Stone Edge, but for not much since it didn't crit. I then just switch out into Superior that tanks a Stone Edge on the switch, and then we go ahead and set up the +6 attack and defense with Coil. The best thing that Throw can do at this point, since I am all set up, is just spam Bulldoze to lower our speed. And since we didn't get crit by the incoming Stone Edge, 1 +6 Leaf Blade can take Throw out. This will next send out Minshao that just uses a jump kick, but it does nothing, so 1 Leaf Blade KOs him as well. This will now send out the vein of my existence, Sock. Now, no matter what we throw at this thing, it will survive due to its ability, Sturdy. And to make matters worse, it gets a crit with Stone Edge that bypasses all of our defense boosts. Marshall uses a full restore, but thankfully we can bring him back to Sturdy with another Leaf Blade. I am basically holding on to hope that I don't get crit, but that doesn't happen, so one more return KO Sock. This now sends out his final Pokemon, Conkeldurr. Now I am kind of in a predicament because this Conkeldurr no matter what will outspeed, and it knows Stone Edge that can crit. That can easily kill Superior, but what Superior doesn't know is that his trainer is clinically insane. So I stay in and watch as Conkeldurr goes for a Stone Edge, but my dog misses, so one more Leaf Blade will give us the clean sweep over Marshall. Caitlyn is my third opponent, and she sends out a Reuniclus as I lead with Cottony. Cottony doesn't have a problem outspeeding, setting up a light screen as Reuniclus gets a solid lick in with Psychic. We then go for a very risky Elite Seed as we get hit down to a quarter with another Psychic. I then switch into Storm that can tank the Psychic, and now that I know that it won't use that on the next turn, I switch into Levanny that tanks a resisted Focus Blast. We then set up with a Sword Stance as we get hit to half with Psychic, so one more X-Scissor can immediately KO that thing. Up next is Sigilyph, so I switch into Storm that can resist this thing's whole moveset. Even though we do resist, Sigilyph is putting up a fight, knocking us to half with an Air Slash, but we do get off a Curse. All we need to do is survive one more Air Slash, but of course we do. We have too much plot armor, so one more Gyro Ball KOs. Next in our arsenal is Gothitelle, so I switch into Sawsbug that surprisingly gets hit to over half with Psychic. Not fancying that at all, I switch into Lilligant that has way better special defense, surviving a Psychic on above half. We hit a very clutch Sleep Powder that will then let us in return set up to +3 with Quiver Dance, and since we have a special defense boost, Gothitelle's Psychic isn't hitting as hard as it was. Knowing I need an extra chunk in power due to the Musharna in the back, I set up 2 more Quiver Dances as Gothitelle sets up 2 Calm Minds. So after all that setup, we can finally KO that thing with 1 Petal Dance. Our last Pokemon is her bulkiest, Musharna, but I don't think bulk alone can withstand the power of a +6 base 120 power Petal Dance straight to the dome. The last Elite Four member is the one I've been dreading the most, Shauntal, but I have a very devious plan for her. She starts the battle by sending out her Cofagrigus as I lead with Cottony. Cottony outspeeds, setting up our special defense with a light screen as we get hit with a very weak Shadow Ball. We then set up our Leech Seed as Cofagrigus uses a Will-O-Wisp to burn us, but that doesn't really matter since Cottony has done its job, so I go ahead and switch into Lilligant. Lilligant does have to tank a Shadow Ball on the switch, but it doesn't really do much since Leech Seed recovery. And y'all already know what time it is, baby. We Sleep Powder and then set up to +6 with Quiver Dance. And after all that setup, we can KO Cofagrigus and even our biggest threat, Shauntal, with a petal dance. Jellicent obviously didn't stand a chance versus a +6 petal dance, but now we are confused as we go into our final Pokemon, Golurk. But that was an easy switch into Superior, as Golurk helps us by halving its HP with Curse, so one more Leaf Blade gives us the final dub over the Elite Four. This is it, baby. We finally made it to the end, and no matter what happens from this point forward, Grass types have sure showed me what they've got. But let's see if they got what it takes to beat the champion in. He starts the battle by sending out Zekrom as I lead with Sawsbuck. Zekrom uses a Fusion Bolt that brings us to half as we use a Charm. Charm is going to lower his attack by 2 stages, which makes me very happy when I see him set up a light screen so we can go ahead and get off another Charm. Zekrom then goes for a non-stab Zen Headbutt that brings us to a quarter as we bring him to -6 with a final Charm. Captain, you have done it once again, leading me to switch into our best defensive presence on the team, Superior, that tanks a Fusion Bolt on the way in. We then go for Elite Seed as Zekrom is trying its hardest to get a crit, but to no avail. This will now let us set up 6 times with Coil, boosting our attack and defense, so in the end, 2 consecutive returns will let us KO that menace. As for the rest of his team, they all go down to a Leaf Blade except for Klinklang and Sturdy Caracosta. But Klinklang just got off a Metal Sound, and Cofagrigus can't even KO with a crit Stone Edge, so in the end, with a lot of setup, you can sweep in with just a Superior. On a side note, if you haven't subscribed yet, it is totally cool, homie. Just go ahead and like the video because this challenge was hard as— oh crap, the Grumpinator is here. Now, arguably in this game, Ghetsis is by far a run-ender battle, and since we can't switch up our team before that battle, this should get very interesting. He sends out Cofagrigus as I lead with Sawsbuck, and on the first turn, I do some chip damage with Feint Attack as he poisons us with Toxic. Needing to conserve Sawsbuck's HP, I switch into Lilligant that tanks a sidekick on the switch. We then put Cofagrigus to sleep, set up Leech Seed, and then get to +2 with Quiver Dance before Cofagrigus wakes up, but just uses a Toxic. That is really not good since we are now on a clock, and even worse, we miss Sleep Powder and get slammed with Shadow Ball. My best case scenario is just to attack now that Ghetsis is using a full restore, so 1 + 2 Petal Dance can take that thing out. His next mon is Hydreigon that does survive the Petal Dance on a quarter, and then as I'm saying my goodbyes to Lilligant, it survives the Fire Blast on 8 HP, turns around and says its final goodbyes as it falls on the dance floor. This will then pave the way for Leavanny as we outspeed— okay, never mind. This will actually pave the way for Cottony. Cottony can set up a light screen to survive the incoming Fire Blast, and then I kid you not, it hits a Hurricane, confuses the Hydreigon, and then Hydreigon goes down to the confusion. This was the exact momentum my team needed as Ghetsis sends in his Seismitoad. I go ahead and switch into Sawsbuck as Seismitoad sets up the rain that helps us out a ton. The reason for that is when we KO Seismitoad with a 4x super effective Horn Leech, this will send out his Electros with Acrobatics and Flamethrower. Now, if we can get off some charms, we are in the clear because the rain will have any fire type move. I somehow outspeed with the charm as Electros brings us to below half with an Acrobatics and Poison. My Sawsbuck single-handedly brought Electros down to -4 attacks, so unfortunately, I gotta let him go down to 1 more Acrobatics. Rest in peace, big dog. I then just send in Superior that gets off a Leech Seed as Electros opts for going for Flamethrower, which is doing nothing because of the rain. I get off a Coil as Electros gets off another Flamethrower, but now Light Screen and Rain have stopped. This means I need to attack, so I slam Electros with a return, but it survives with a 1/4 HP, and Superior tanks the Flamethrower on 56 HP. But that just means that we can take out Electros with 1 final return. His second to last Pokemon is Bouffalant, so I set up Elite Seed as Bouffalant hits its head charge, but we survive on 28 HP. Superior, my dear friend, my starter, you have gotten us all the way here with your sheer bulk and determination. This Hardcore Nuzlocke has been extremely hard, but for the greater good of the run, and because you can't KO Bouffalant with a Leaf Blade, I have to let you go to one more head charge. Rest in peace, homie. The two great things about Superior getting KO'd here is it will let us send out Storm that can KO Bouffalant with Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs as we get off a curse. The second great thing is his last Pokemon is a Bisharp that only knows physical contact moves. So this means after getting hit with an X-Scissor that activates Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs, we can slam it with a Bulldoze to confirm the KO with the Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs damage on the next turn. This for sure will give us the win over the entire Nuzlocke challenge. I was so hyped we overcame this challenge. We did it. We just beat a Pokemon Hardcore Nuzlocke just using grass types, and what a roller coaster it was. Grass types with a little bit of love can overcome just about anything. Let's get it. If you have made it to the end of the video, go ahead and drop a like, and while I still have you, jingle that sub bell. But anyways, this was a Hardcore Nuzlocke just using grass types, and I hope to see you in my next run.